Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. Today's topic, Boost Your Portal, 7 high-value activities to improve your portal's performance. My name is Elisa Calder and I'm a portal management consultant here at Habanero. I've been here for over 4 years now, working with various clients to help them get the most out of their websites and employee portals. A little bit about Habanero for those of you that haven't maybe worked with us before. Here at Habanero, we're really passionate about helping people and organizations thrive. And we really believe that by building great technology, we help enable companies to build great workplaces. What kind of technology do we build here at Habanero? Well, we work on customer portals and websites, employee portals and intranets, and member portals and extranets. Today's webinar is a 30-minute format. So I'm going to hopefully spend about 25 minutes on the content of the webinar, and then we'll have 5 minutes for question and answer at the end. So today's webinar originally started as a blog post written by Mallory O'Connor, our practice lead for customer portals. And we had such good response that we decided to turn it into the webinar that you're listening to today. Mallory's blog post really talks about the why. So the types of activities you should undertake and why you would want to do that. And today I'm going to focus more on the how. I'm hopefully going to start to get into how you would actually go about doing some of these 7 boosting activities. And when we talk about boosting your portal, what types of portals are we actually talking about? So we think that these activities are relevant to all 3 portals. So your website, your intranet, and your extranet can benefit from all of these activities. Obviously, the audiences and stakeholders you might be talking to are slightly different, but the intent and results are the same. What do we mean when we talk about boosting your portal and getting more out of it? Here at Habanero, we sort of see this as a continuous improvement life cycle. So initially a project will kick off in the beginning and we'll have a whole bunch of effort. So this could be a big foundation release. We've got a brand new website, employee portal, you have it. And we hope to see as soon as we launch, this big value, an adoption curve just climbing up. And our efforts sort of slowly waning off. And boosting are the activities that you would undertake subsequently to help kind of bump up that adoption. So you can't, just do nothing. You always have to sort of give some type of effort, but the activities we're talking about today can help you sort of see those incremental improvements and climb in your value and adoption stream. But also when I think of boosting your portal, I like to think of this, we're just going to kick it up a notch. So all of the activities that we're going to cover today fall into this green quadrant in the top left of my graph. So high impact and low to medium effort. This is obviously the happy place in these 4 quadrants because you want to get the most for your dollar, most for your time, most for your effort, basically. And in consultant speak, we would say that this qualifies as low-hanging fruit. So what are these 7 portal boosters that we'll be covering off today? So first we'll talk about listing labs. Secondly, we'll review analytics review and configuration. Then we'll talk about content audit and strategy, followed by roadmap planning, A/B testing, performance testing, and then security audit and recovery planning. First up, listing labs. So listing labs look a lot like this. We'll be in a room with a facilitator, a note taker, and at least 1 participant. What a listing lab is getting live feedback. So in this photo, this is in-person feedback, but this can also be conducted remotely. And what we'll do as the facilitator is walk the participant through the portal that we're testing. So either through the website or the employee portal. We'll have them cover off some explicit tasks that we're looking to find out more about. Why this is so valuable is we're getting a combination of explicit and observed feedback. Obviously less observed when we're doing it remotely, but you start to see where people are looking, where they're hovering, where they're clicking, what they're interested in, not just what they're saying to us in response to the questions we're asking. And listening labs are great because you begin to understand what users actually do, not just what they say they do. As humans, we're really bad at articulating what we actually do. We tend to have a view on what we want to be doing or what we think we're doing that's not always reflective of reality. So what you'll need to conduct a listening lab? Well, first you need to figure out what your goals are. So describe your intent and focus on areas requiring greater visibility. So why are you conducting these listening labs? What are you trying to find out more about? Where are there areas of your site that you feel are unknown, or it's kind of a big black hole of information? We're not sure what people are doing here or why. Next, you'll need to create a facilitator guide. So once you've articulated your goals, you're going to write questions out that align with these goals to make sure that you gather the information you need to successfully complete the goals. The guide is to provide structure and flow, but it's not a script. You don't need to follow it letter for letter, word for word. You want listening labs to flow and allow for deeper exploration in specific areas that are relevant to the participant you're talking to. So the facilitator guide's there as a helper, not as handcuffs. It's there to guide you through the listening lab, make sure you hit your key points, but be flexible enough that you can be really curious and in the moment with the participant to find out more. Speaking of participants, you'll need about 10 to 15 of these individuals, and try to find a representative group of the audiences that you're interested in testing. We find that after about 10 to 12 participants, we're starting to really hear the same thing over and over, and big trends are emerging. This isn't an activity that you need to undertake with tens or hundreds of people. When you're looking for participants, you need to make sure you recruit early. This always takes way longer than you think it's going to find people. And make sure that you reward with an honorarium. And an honorarium can be money, gift card, swag, whatever matters to the audience that you're testing. Whatever reward is going to entice them to participate. So once you've got your guide, your goals, and your participants, you'll need to set up a lab. So this is really just a room with a computer. If you're going to be conducting these sessions remotely, you'll need screen sharing software and a telephone for remote sessions. And then when you're actually conducting the listening lab, you'll need a facilitator and a note taker, so at least 2 individuals. The facilitator, your job is to ask questions and to guide the participant, and make sure that you're really curious and inquisitive. You want to be very in the moment with the participant and trying to understand why they're doing what they're doing, why they're looking at what they're looking at, and what they don't understand or need more information about. And the note taker, your job is just to capture absolutely everything. By having the note taker there to capture the comments, capture the moment, allows the facilitator to be very present with the participant. And we find that when we're note taking, we try as best we can to capture quotes. Word for word quotes from participants, because these tend to be very impactful and will really illustrate the themes that emerge. Really have good impact in the presentations that we will give after we've finished conducting all our listening labs to present the findings and recommendations. So what will you get out of these listening labs, these 10 to 15 that you conduct? Actual user scenarios. So you'll start to understand, again, what people actually do on your site, what works well and what doesn't. What works well and then what's not working. It becomes very obvious what people find easy and intuitive and fun to interact with, and what people struggle with or don't understand or feel frustrated about. So you'll get a whole long list of both of those things. After that, you'll need to prioritize and see what makes the most sense to work on to either keep improving or to fix. All right, our second portal booster, analytics review and configuration. So an analytics review starts with an analysis of the patterns and trends in your existing analytics. So we're going to look at a higher level what's going on overall with your portal. And then you need to start to articulate, okay, based on the information we're capturing and the things that we understand now from our analytics, does this map to the goals of the portal, to the business goals that we have? So looking to map our actual measurement to the business goals. And then thirdly, we are wanting to gather insight into into what resonates with key audience segments. We're going to configure your analytics software to gather exactly what we need to clearly report on the goals that we have for our key audiences and whether or not we're hitting those. So what will you need? First, a current state review. So review all your available analytics data. I mean, at a very base level, whatever content management system you're using, you should have traffic, devices, bounce rate, and conversion. So start with what you have. Then start to articulate the goals. So if there are no business goals yet articulated for your portal, generate those or hunt those down and review those with your team. And then also any channel-specific goals. So with this portal, what are we specifically trying to achieve? Then you'll need to conduct an audience segmentation. So group your audience into homogeneous subgroups so that you can create the goals around each audience segment and measure those within your analytics software. We find it really helpful to also develop personas for each segment. So a persona is a fictitious character that represents an entire segment, and it really brings to life that audience segment. It helps you as the individuals managing and administering the portal to really empathize and understand what that segment represents, what their key goals are, how they interact with the portal typically, and even to paint a picture about what their life might be like. So you also need some analytics software. I mean, at a basis, your CMS will have some, so investigate what you get out of the box, and then you'll probably look to maybe third-party products depending on the CMS that you're using. Obviously, Google Analytics is the most well-known and popular third-party product and plugin for any of your portals. And lastly, you'll need an analytics administrator. So part of the review and configuration is seeing where you are at today, finding out where we want to go tomorrow, configuring the software to give us the data we need to help us measure how we're doing on that path to tomorrow. And then we need someone to kind of continuously check in with the analytics to ensure that we're tracking in the way that we should. If you want analytics to be a strategic tool for decision making, you really need continuous or consistent involvement. Depending obviously on how complex the analytics landscape is that you create would be how much work this analytics administrator would need to undertake. So they'll manage the software and tweak the software to make sure that the data you're getting is the right data, and they'll work with the business units to provide meaningful measurement. So they'll provide feedback and work continuously with the groups that need it. What you'll get, benchmarks. So you'll start to see, okay, where are we today? Where do we want to go tomorrow? And how are we tracking against that? Audience segment. So this is really valuable for not for analytics, but also for other activities that you might undertake with the portal around enhancement planning or prioritization of new features. So finishing them and doing them as part of this exercise, they're not only living in the analytics world. And lastly, key conversion scenarios. So you'll start to understand for this audience, what do we really want to be achieving with them, and that, what value does that conversion bring to the organization, and start to really look at what conversions should we be really trying to amp up and get more of because the value is greatest with those. Third portal booster, content audit and strategy. So content and audit strategy is pretty much what it sounds like. First, we are going to do a content inventory of what to keep, throw away, and refresh. So all the information we have, what's good, what needs to go, and what needs to be fixed up. Then we're going to map content to portal goals. So, okay, based on everything we have today, does this meet the goals we have for the portal? If not, where are the gaps? And then looking at optimizing the content publishing process. So how are we going to bridge the gap, and how do we continue to ensure that the gap doesn't grow back, basically? How do we keep our content fresh and relevant continuously? And some of the other artifacts that will be created as a part of this process is optimizing this process of things like a content style guide. What you'll need? First, a content map. So this is a the large map that articulates the information architecture for the site. And what you'll do with this is compare the information architecture to key use cases. So based on who our key users are and the key activities we want happening on this portal, does the content and the IA we have support that? And then also reviewing content for relevancy, freshness, accuracy, and style. So that's where we start. That review helps us come up with the determination of keep, refresh, or throw away. Next, need to articulate some goals. So what are some channel-specific goals and audience-specific goals? Channel goals, so what behavior should the portal be driving? And audience goals, what do you want each audience to be able to accomplish? Next is developing a content style guide. So this will outline voice, tone, and typical language. And this may include things like a word or phrase bank. Basically, all of this, basically helping content authors understand how they should write, the words that they should be using, what their sentence structure should typically be like, and what the overall tone and voice of the site should be like. Part of the content style guide, you'll review all of your content types, and you'll probably also do things like overview writing for the web, even reviewing things like grammar. Depending on the portal you have, employee portal versus website, your content authors may or may not be professional writers, so having a content style guide really helps ensure that everyone's writing in a consistent fashion. Fourth is to come up with a publishing and review schedule, so a calendar of who is publishing what and when. And this is really what will help manage the content life cycle. So not only publishing what and when, but when do review cycles kick in, who's doing the reviewing, what are all the approvals that need to take place, basically what's the entire process for managing content to keep it fresh. And as a part of this schedule, you can include all relevant channels. So the for example, for your external comms, that might be the website and your social media strategies, other platforms like Twitter and Facebook. Or internally, that might be looking at things like printed materials like newsletters or magazines that are also handed out, to ensure that you're starting to bring all of those channels together in one place to see how they're supporting one another. And to do all this, you're going to need a content team. So content team are made up of content owners, managers, and contributors. Owners have the final say on accuracy of the content. Content managers are the ones who are really working with the content overall to ensure that it's living up to the channel-specific goals. And then contributors are the individuals that are doing the writing. So these are three hats that some people might wear multiple of, or if you're a large organization, this is quite dispersed throughout different roles. And likely having a content governance committee is also a good idea. These help set the overall tone and direction of content, long-term sort of goals and roadmap of content. And a note here is that content's never one person or one department within an organization. This content team is likely going to be very cross-functional and probably involves individuals at multiple levels within the hierarchy. So what will you get out of this? Well, first off, great content. And a portal's nothing without the content on it. A streamlined schedule, so who's doing what and when, and how does that support the goals we have? And increased conversion. So if you've got great content, you're going to be able to support your key audience segments to complete the key conversion scenarios that you're looking to have them complete. Number 4, roadmap planning. So roadmap planning, also kind of what it sounds like. It's to come up with a plan and direction for the portal and to map that plan to business goals. Here I have a photo of a typical roadmap that we'll create for organizations. This is a huge one-pager where we articulate things like the phases, the features, types of value we're expecting to see, any sort of high-level requirements that might be a part of that, and how that all feeds back to what the business is looking to achieve. So for a roadmap, once you know where you're going, you can come up with a prioritized list of activities of how you're going to get there. So list of activities across a timeline as well is kind of a key component of a roadmap, not just a flat list. And then lastly, we sort of see a roadmap really as a communication tool that you can use for conversations with stakeholders. So a great this one pager is a great example of a communication tool. It's all in one place. You can print it out to be quite large. I mean, we've printed some to be as long as 8 feet, and something you can post on the wall that people can see and walk up to and read through and really understand the flow and the timeline. So things you'll need to do roadmap planning. First is a current state review. You need to understand where you are today before you can really clearly chart your path to the future. So first, look at the business goals for the portal. Are these still relevant? Do these still resonate, etc.? And then we'll often do a current state review looking at these 6 facets of the portal. From a functional standpoint, what exists today? From a design standpoint, what exists today? How's our content? So if you've already done the content audit, you probably have a really good content audit and strategy. You've already done this component. What's our governance structure today? How are we doing on training? And lastly, what's the change management and communication that's going on in the organization around the life of the portal and the impact of the portal? So a great exercise that I'll use in current state review workshops is a game storming workshop technique called Speedboat. So it's available online at gamestorming.com if you want to go grab it. This is really good for teams that manage your portal. It's a good exercise to help them surface all the things that they feel are sort of holding them back or making it difficult to move forward. So it really highlights any existing roadblocks or challenges they might have currently. So once you've done your own review as the portal team, you need to go and talk to people. So talk to people that are using the portal. So again, if you've done your listening labs, you've probably covered off all your key audiences already, and you might have fewer interviews here. So it's key audiences as well as stakeholders. So individuals within the business that obviously have a stake in the portal. And in these interviews, you want to validate that you have your key audiences right, that you know who you should be servicing most with the portal. You want to understand these audiences' key use cases. Again, personas are a great thing to do here to help you represent who all the key stakeholders are. If you've done this for your analytics review, you can just bring those over and maybe add a few more for internal stakeholders. And this is a really great opportunity at this point to create a journey map, so to understand how the portal fits into the day in the life of the people who actually work at your organization or the key audiences you're looking to reach with your website. So what are the touch points for them with the portal and other touch points that they have with other technology with your company? So once you really feel clear about where you are today, based on the current state review and the interviews, it's time to come up with where you're going tomorrow. So develop your blue sky vision here. What do you want the future to look like? The sort of time frames you could be developing for depends on the organization. What's going to resonate most with the people who are actually going to be doing the work and trying to bring this to life? Is that 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? It's sort of up to you. The game storming workshop technique that I really use frequently here in envisioning workshops is called cover story. So again, on gamestorming.com, this really helps groups of individuals inside of a workshop clearly articulate what that future looks like. So to bring that blue sky in a way down to earth with language that resonates. So then, how are we going to get there? You need to prioritize the features so the gap between today and tomorrow, and prioritize what are we working on first. So within this workshop, we'll probably develop a feature release schedule, and we'll decide what's coming first, second, third. 2 workshop techniques for this are 20/20 vision or $100 test. And lastly, portal team. So like content, the people that manage the portal are likely dispersed within the organization. This is especially true for an employee portal or an extranet. The types of individuals you'll need on the portal team is someone playing a portal manager role, so someone who all up owns the portal, portal manager. So that's a portal owner. All up owns the portal. Portal manager manages the entirety of the portal, or oversees the entire management of the portal. The IT group obviously is imperative in this, is a part of this team, and you'll have your content team. And portal governance committee, very needed. very needed. These are the individuals that help make decisions about the life of the portal. They're the ones that will likely own the roadmap and the health of the roadmap, and are the ones that will provide updates to the roadmap. It's really an important note here is that a roadmap should never be a static document that just was a moment in time. It really should be something living that's continuously updated. As you achieve the things set out in the roadmap, add new years, add new activities, add new features. So what you'll get out of this, a roadmap, so an actual document, maybe that 8-foot by 6-foot type of document I showed you at the beginning. A list of priorities, so you'll know that, you'll know exactly what you need to do tomorrow when you come into work. And buy-in, so not only by reaching out in the organization to help create the roadmap, so by doing the interviews, by collecting the data, do you engender buy-in, but also by creating a large physical artifact that you can use to communicate, that you share out within the organization, helps create additional buy-in. Okay, number 5, A/B testing. So A/B testing is basically where you have a control of your portal, a control version and a variant version, and you test multiple times with many different users to see what performs better. So you use it to identify what changes increase or maximize a desired outcome. And like I said before, this is testing with multiple users, and it happens live. So it's a randomized test. You serve up either the control or the variant to your user, and you track the data points over multiple instances of this randomized test to see if your control or variant does better. And A/B testing really provides you with tons and tons of data, which allows you to make data-driven decisions and be able to really prove the results because you've got the data to back you up. So what you'll need, first, a hypothesis. So you need some sort of assumption that you're testing. Second is the control. So this is the site as it is today. Don't change it at all. You need to be able to serve up the control without any changes. And then you need to be able to serve up the variant with only one change. So this is a really important note. Make sure that the variant is identical to the control except for one variation. A/B testing is so powerful from a data perspective because you can really pinpoint what performs better based on one variable. If you have multiple variables, you're not going to know what variable necessarily caused the better outcome. You'll need testing software to execute A/B testing. So again, look at your CMS capabilities. Sitecore has this built in. Others, like SharePoint, do not. Third-party products that you can use, Google or Optimizely. And if you don't want to go as high-tech as using a third-party product plugin and sort of live changes up to the control site or to your websites where they have the variant, you could also use wireframes or mockups for static testing. Maybe this is also, you're looking to do some static testing before you release any changes. So what will you get out of this? Data, tons and tons of data. And what that leads to is data-driven decisions. So there's not about hunches or best practices or any other sort of human influence. It really takes the politics and personalities out of it. You can prove, succinctly and distinctly that this change caused this result, therefore we're either going to go ahead or not with that change. And then that ultimately leads to increased conversion. You have a hypothesis about what you're testing, you know what you're trying to achieve more of, and if you get that based on your change, you implement it. Okay, number 6, performance testing. Performance testing tests a portal's responsiveness and stability. It's looking for weaknesses and bottlenecks, and it will identify if these are code-related or network-related, and you're looking to see the impact that these bottlenecks have on the user experience. And once you've figured out what the problem, if there is a problem and where it may lie, so network or code, you can come up with a plan for fixing it. So what you'll need to do performance testing is some benchmarks. So you need to define what an acceptable page response time is. And this encompasses all the content on the page, so that the page with everything, videos, images, any other integration points, etc., loads. And this may be different per page. Obviously, home pages you likely want to have your best response time. Other interior, less used pages could maybe have a slower response time. And this may be dependent on network load. So during peak hours of use of the site, you want one type of page load time versus, middle of the night, no one using the site. Other types of, a higher page load time, is maybe more acceptable. So then you'll need some scenarios. Identify the pages that have the highest anticipated load times and work through testing them. Obviously, if you're able to satisfy those then you'll be fine for the rest of the pages on your site. And the performance testing scenarios should include variables like caching, work hours, non-work hours, and network throttling. And then you'll need a performance testing lab to actually do this sort of testing, to execute all your testing scenarios. So a performance testing lab requires specialized performance testing apps that are installed on a test controller and load agents. So the first time you run your tests, you'll do them inside the lab on an isolated network where you control all the variables. You can see that what types of changes cause what types of outcomes. And then once you've finished or concluded all of those tests, you'll do it in the real world network and you'll compare the results. So then you'll start to know, okay, if it is a network issue, what is it? What's the difference between our real world network and our isolated network, and how does the code interact with that? So what you'll get ultimately is faster page load times, which leads to happy users. Nobody wants a slow website. It can be so demoralizing for users when they're trying to use the technology and it's unresponsive and slow. They'll just abandon and go look for something else. And ultimately then you'll have increased conversion. If there's no barriers to individuals being able to execute the kind of key use cases you're looking for them to execute on, then they will. But if things are slow and unresponsive, then they likely won't. They'll abandon and leave. Last but not least, our 7th portal booster, security audit. So security audit is about conducting penetration testing. So basically you're trying to hack your own portal. So you're trying to find out where your site is vulnerable and what types of weaknesses you have. So an example of vulnerability is, field vulnerability. And ultimately then once you've tried to hack your own portal and found out where the holes are, if there are any, it's also coming up with a backup and recovery plan and conducting dry runs. So if the site was to go down, how do we get it back up? What has to happen? And then practicing that, which is huge. So what you'll need is a testing plan. So review your security requirements. What's an acceptable level of security within your organization based on what's housed in the portal? And then identify scope. Are you looking to test just internal or external threats? And then what type of threat are we looking at? Is this a network threat or code threat? So is it... then you need your penetration testing apps. So similar to the performance testing, we're going to have specialized penetration testing apps installed on the tester's machine. So sometimes these are third-party products like Cobalt Strike. More often than not, though, if you're hiring an external consultant or individual to come in and conduct penetration testing, they'll have custom software that's fit for use. In a way, they're sort of hackers for hire, and they'll have created their own tools to help them get in at whatever means needed. And then lastly, you need to create a disaster recovery plan. So the steps required to bring the portal back online. And your disaster recovery plan should include not only the steps, but contact list and dependencies. So if the site goes down, who needs to know? Does warehouse need to know because the shipping implications and logistic implications of that? Does the legal department need to know because of legal implications, etc.? Who gets called and when? An important note here, make sure your disaster recovery plan isn't stored on the portal itself. Have it on a different system. Maybe even have it printed out in hard copy and have multiples of those. The individuals that usually create disaster recovery plans are an infrastructure architect, a business analyst, and a solution architect. Sort of depends how in-depth the disaster recovery plan is as to how much each of these individuals will be involved. Infrastructure tends to be the biggest role to play, though, in the creation of this plan. Okay, So there you have it, the 7 portal boosters. Listing labs, analytics review and configuration, content audit and strategy, roadmap planning, A/B testing, performance testing, and then security audit and recovery planning. So any or all of these will help you move your portal up and help continue to build that value and adoption. If you feel like you want to undertake these but you don't quite know how, make sure you call us, because Habanero can help. We do these types of things all the times with our clients. As a portal management consultant, this is really where I spend my day. So just to wrap up, here's my contact information. Please email me if you have any questions. Look me up on the website, call me. More than happy to chat. Past webinars are on YouTube at Habanero Consult, and other blog posts you can find at habaneroconsulting.com. So thanks very much for attending today. I hope that everyone feels inspired to go out and boost their portal in at least one of 7 ways.